delay.
All right, we're good.
All right, let's go.
Todd and Rob in the afternoon.
Afternoon delight.
With Todd and Rob. Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
it's great to be back.
yes, indeed. Here we are. And a little bit of a different time, but than our normal show. But again, same as last week. So, hey, everybody, welcome. For those of you joining the live stream, Rob, was a quick week.
Yeah, well, it's still only Wednesday, so we still have a few more days to go.
I always look at our weeks Wednesday to Wednesday, so yeah.
Oh yeah, well, that's right. Yeah, they do come around pretty fast when you do weekly shows. I know I do about 3 live weekly shows, so they do come around a little quick. I'll just put it that way, but yeah, I wanted to talk about some topics. I'm sure Todd, you have maybe done a little bit of thinking on this, but I did want to. I did an event down in New Jersey last night for a group of like maybe a couple hundred people that were doing kind of this joint thing of a Zoom call as well as a live in person event, trying to do it at the same time, all in one venue down in New Jersey, of having a bunch of people, on a video camera at the same time, and then taking
Right.
questions and all this kind of stuff. And the topic came up a lot around the whole area of there's still a lot of people interested in starting a podcast, Todd. And
Well,
this topic keeps coming up, right? Of how do we start a kind of a modern podcast, or a podcast that people are kind of expecting to attempt to start, in what that spectrum is. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that tonight.
Well, it was definitely the case at Podfest where,
Yeah.
you had a whole group of people, then, the desire to start a show is, was as live as it actually kind of made me feel as if some of the stuff we'd heard from pundits wasn't necessarily correct. So I was pretty excited to see the enthusiasm to start a show. So
Yeah, it is. I guess it's really a matter of tapping into and reaching out to kind of groups and communities that are not necessarily plugged into podcasting. I know we tend to travel in echo chambers of sorts in the podcasting space, and I know a lot of people that watch this are avid podcasters themselves, but it's an interesting topic from the standpoint is when we as podcasters talk to other people, what are we sharing with them around maybe how podcasting has changed a little bit? If we think about, Todd, when you and I started back in 2004, and as you moved through, like 2010 or so, I think there was a certain kind of thought process that we all went through back then of why we were doing it and stuff. But, given the current kind of more modern media landscape and the complexity of it, it's probably a lot of the same concepts, right?
well, you hear the same thing. I don't know if the story has changed,
Yeah.
on wanting and why and their genesis and, their hopes and dreams and everything that goes along with that. So from that perspective, I don't see too much differences at this point, from
Yeah,
that perspective.
that's an interesting observation. I've been thinking a lot about over probably the last 5 or 6 years is while everybody's running ahead thinking about how things have changed, really the fundamentals of this medium really haven't changed very much. How we produce and how we distribute has changed a little bit, and I think its perception is evolving and changing, but the actual core principles, I mean, if you're talking just about content, right, it's the same. It's really the same thing.
Well, and at the same time, the conversations I have with podcasters is exactly the same today as it was 10 years ago. And it really evolves around, and these are for shows that are established, that have started,
Right.
is how do I grow my show? And that continues to be the prevailing question that I'm asked. Am I doing things right? Is my website set up correctly? What am I missing? And, oftentimes they're not missing much. It's a lot of fine tuning, and ultimately, it's about creating great content.
Yeah, it's also, I think, getting crystal clear on your goals of what you're trying to accomplish with a show. I think that the one thing that has changed that's pretty dramatic is just the level of noise that's out there around content. There's a lot of content creators now. There's a lot of content that's competing for people's attention, and increasingly, that's what's driving this conversation about, growing a show and getting, I mean, how do you get attention to your show to be able to pick up audience? And at the end of the day, we keep talking about, content as the driver for that, but increasingly, I'm hearing more people talk about thinking about community, as the way to grow a show these days, and appealing to a community, and that oftentimes is kind of mission driven and mission focused. And this came up a lot on this group Zoom call with, like, it's like 250 people. Is it's the whys of why people are wanting to create podcast content, and this tug of war that people feel out there between doing a video show or doing an audio only show, and how there's increasing pressure on all of us to create shorts and to do all this derivative content too. And it's really causing a lot of people to just kind of throw up their hands right now, and, like, where do I start? How do I start? Is there anything that you've been thinking about on that plane
Ye
of thought?
again, it boils down to that 50% of the people probably at least, and we talked about this in Florida, was,
Yeah.
when I asked them, "What is the goal of your show?" They often can't answer that,
Right.
and because they haven't thought about it, and again, the goal of the show would ultimately, drive the format and content of the show.
Right.
So, are you trying to make money? Are you trying to build authority? Are you have a business funnel? What is your goal?
Yeah.
And then once you've decided what the goal of the show is, then it's easy, really easy to build content that drives towards that goal. But
Yeah.
again, if you don't have a goal and you're just going to do a show for fun, well, I think you're probably, you might be throwing pizza on the wall or something. But at the same time, community though, what does that really mean? If you have no community um, pre-established, and again, this is the lifelong problem of content creators. If you're well known in some space already on some platform, well, you've got a community to build from. If you're a business, you have a business list. If you are a speaker, you have a speaking list.
Mhm.
If you an author, you have a reader list. But if you are just like I was, and maybe even you, Rob, well, you were doing radio, so you had a little more establishment. But if you think about, when I started, I had nobody. I had no community. And a few people that read the blog, but that mounted to, maybe 300 people a
Uh-huh.
week that, happened to find it by mistake. So, uh, you know, you can talk community all you want, but I go back to the realization I had in that, when my father died on episode 200, and coming back to, 5,000 emails of condolences from my audience made me realize that podcast audiences are different. They're just different, and they are, you might have a YouTube channel, you might have a Rumble, you might be on LinkedIn, but whoever follows and subscribes to your podcast, there's just a different level of connection there. And in essence, your community is that audience. And that's where I had really, made this decision at that point that, hey, this is part of and I really broke it down kind of because I lived in Hawaii at the time.
Mhm.
I broke it down into this Ohana theme, family, 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 family. It's a family of listeners. So yeah, of course it was a community. But I didn't know I had a community of listeners until I knew there was listeners. But did I really have the inkling that there was this deep, intimate connection? I don't know, Rob, maybe you've experienced this. Have you ever been walking through an airport or been at a location and you have, my first incident was as I walked up to a McDonald's counter in O'Hare and I started ordering and a person two people back from me said, "Todd," and it was someone that listened to the show that didn't know what I looked like because there was no video podcast at that time. And I turned around and, here you have this person that they really know everything about you, but you know nothing about them. And, they're happy to see you and grab you and give you a hug. And, and it's so these podcast audiences, I believe there's this deeper connection. And yeah, community is important, but you still got to build it.
Yeah, and I do wonder if there's an advantage there. I know back when I used to work for Podcast one of the criteria is that the development team, when they were looking at taking on a new program, they would go look at, you know, like a celebrity or whatever, and how big their social profile was, right? How many followers they had on Twitter, and how many people were connected to them on various social media apps as a kind of a baseline of community. And I wonder if we're coming into an era of podcasting that I do wonder about this base of community that is pre-established before you start a show is a maybe a leading indicator of the ability to grow community with your podcast, and it may be one of the reasons why we're seeing kind of like a renewed interest in kind of what I would call a kind of branded podcast, which is more like business motivated podcasts that already have an existing community of sorts. I don't know.
Again, it's if you have that,
That's probably an advantage, right?
well, it's been that way from the beginning. You
Oh, sure it
leverage,
has.
but
Yeah,
but let's go back to the podcast one thing.
yeah,
Oh, they you had some superstars over there. They had
and it
great
flopped.
community, and they flopped.
Yeah, right. It's not a
Yeah,
guarantee of success. Right. Yeah.
like plummet into the ocean and sink into the depths of hell. It was, there was, there was they could have all the community in the world, but they were superficial.
Yeah, I
They
mean,
were
I worked on to some degree, and I'm not taking credit for what happened to this, but the Larry King podcast, that crashed and burned. So just because you're a big celebrity doesn't mean that you're going to be successful at
and
podcasting.
here's the
Right,
problem.
right.
Here's what it is. Those folks are used to talking to,
Yeah,
and they're not well, maybe they're talking at, not talking to the audience. They have this ability to appeal to a general topic and get widespread, but then is there emotion? Is there emotion? Is there a connection that they develop one-on-one when someone
right.
straps on a headset? I I
Yeah, and
I
yeah.
I don't feel on the YouTube channels I watch, yeah, I enjoy their content. It's entertainment for me,
Mhm.
but I don't have a connection with those hosts. I ran into a YouTuber recently that I followed their channel, and here's the thing. Here's was the stark thing. I said, "Oh, you're the host of such and such YouTube channel," and it's like, "Yeah," and hands me a card with the name of his channel, and I'm like, "Wow!" And I got this very impersonal, "Don't bother me" type of response
Mm,
that I was a little surprised about. Because what happens now when I run into people and say, "Oh, listen to your show." "Well, great, thanks, love it. I'm glad you enjoy it. What do you like about it? What would you like me to change?" I solicit that. I get that. I try to build a connection.
Mhm.
Because I don't know them. And and maybe my situation was unique, and it had actually happened in a bar. I run into this, so maybe the individual did not want to be bothered, but I was like, it actually kind of turned me off, made me thought, well, maybe just this channel is not worth its time to watch anymore.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think your comments about, have have I ever been in a public place and been recognized before? And, I would say it depends on the place I'm at. I mean, obviously at a podcasting conference or something like that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess it's that line around fame, right? I've known many people that, have had their face out there, and it can just be like a image online too. It doesn't have
mhm.
to be video, right? So people see us in our profile pictures, and that's why it's important for our profile pictures to kind of represent us pretty
Well,
accurately.
well,
So,
if we go back and look
right.
at Dr. Drew
Yeah.
at Podcast, he took the time and was connecting with people, and he had it, and again, he's talented at working audiences. So he has experience doing this.
Oh, yeah.
Will he remember the 3-minute conversation he had with Todd? Probably not. But during the 3 minutes that I was talking with him, I had his undivided attention,
Attention, yeah. Mhm.
and it made me feel appreciated for the being able to interact with him, and I know he's a busy guy, didn't wanna waste his time.
Mhm.
Um, and it's the same. I think we all have to just, creators want shortcuts right now too. There's no shortcut. There's none. And we also have to be frank. My son's trying to build a YouTube channel. Um, and frankly, he's not doing what he needs to do, in my opinion, to build a successful YouTube channel. And I tried to explain to him some strategies and give him links to videos to talk about this. And it's just like anything else. If you don't do the time, you don't put in the work, you
Yeah.
don't, and this ideology of instant gratification and getting the dopamine hit by liking the TikTok video. Um, there's not a lot of dopamine in podcasting initially.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and we tried to build that into some of the podcasting 2.0s, a dopamine hit. Here's an example. 1,000 sats from RW Nash. Yeah, Todd's back, and therefore the back and forth. Um, so again, we have, you know, the ability now to get some more feedback to the podcaster from the listening audience. And I think that is going to be critical, because let's be frank, people are living on the dopamine hit right now. They don't get it. They feel defeated. They feel unwanted. It's the trophy syndrome. I'm not being liked. Come on, suck it up, Buttercup. This is tough. So the question is, are we having the hard conversations with creators, with podcasters, that this shit's hard? You gotta create content.
Yeah. Though, Todd, I wonder if it's, I don't know, I struggle with this too because I try and give people advice on how to step forward and try and think about this, and it's like, I think there's such a strong interest in being a content creator now, whether it be a YouTuber or a podcaster, as their full-time career.
Oh,
Um,
well, good luck.
and to have that, happen very rapidly because they don't have a lot of time, right? I mean, if you just been laid off from your job, which has happened a lot in the podcasting space, I think right now we're in this era of, it's almost like reshuffling the chairs on a deck, right? And people are leaving these big companies and they're maybe going to start their own companies. I mean, we saw this kind of like back in the 2008, 2009 timeframe and during the last economic struggle, um, where, talent got spread around. And I think especially now, I think we're going to see a lot of people try and, start up their own companies or be a consultant. And I think we're just seeing this kind of situation explode. I mean, I don't know about you, Todd, but I get contacted from people on LinkedIn constantly that are looking to get some sort of a deal going, and they're independent creators, or they've done a startup, or they're trying to, create some income for themselves. And I think that that's what's really driving this conversation of, growing and then being able to monetize is the big thing.
I back it out to one of my sponsor messages with GoDaddy.
Right.
I tell my audience, get your website set up.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you're going to do a podcast, e-commerce, you're going to build something that is going to future proof, economy proof
Yeah.
yourself. So this is I hate to be an asshole, but there's no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts at this point. If you've had bad planning, we've all had these moments where like, oh, I'm behind the 8 ball. Well, creating content doesn't matter what you're going to do. Unless, okay, let's be frank, some of the TikTok stuff goes viral because it's TNA
Yeah.
and, and a cute face or a handsome man or whatever it may be. Okay. There's some stuff on TikTok that is repurposing other people. I see a huge amount of this
Right.
repurposing and commenting on,
Or memes or those kind of things that people just
and
replicate the
the
same
amount
kind
of
of
people that
content.
are the
Right.
amount of people that are trying to build their shows upon other people's content by and analyzing
Mhm.
someone's clip or something. It's just out of control. And I'm like, do the work, do your own work,
Mhm.
and there's no shortcut. There's just no shortcut. I wish there was. I wish there was a magic pill. We'd all be rich.
Yeah, so if you're watching this, please give us, a comment in Facebook or YouTube. We'd love to hear your comments about these topics and share, with us your thoughts on your experience with going through this process, because I do think that there's a lot of people right now looking for being a content creator as their career going forward, and I kind of wonder that's putting a lot of pressure on podcast hosting platforms. It's putting a lot of pressure on YouTube to be able to facilitate that. And I I think it's a like you said, Todd, it's a challenge, and most of the success that people I find with this takes many months and maybe years
And
to
here's
accomplish. Right?
well, you know, you just look at the number of YouTubers that are now monetized,
Yeah.
and I think you find a pretty equal number of podcasters that are not monetized.
I mean, it can be
And
done very rapidly, but I think it's kind of rare. I mean, it depends on your abilities, I guess.
I think it's about your ability to connect with audience, and it's
Yep.
ultimately the content,
Right.
and putting the work in.
And I wonder if that can be done through a coach or not, or if that's just something that typically happens more organically with a person that just puts the work in, right, over a long
Well,
period of time.
I'll tell you what's becoming easier. Um, there should not be any excuses because um, I look at what we're testing right now internally at Blueberry, where our AI stuff. We've got beta testers in, and because of spending many months and looking at what was useful and what wasn't,
Mhm.
I now can knock the show out again, probably in about from the time the recording is done to the time the show is posted in under 30 minutes. Now, when I was using maybe 20 minutes, and when I was using the haphazard of tools I was using before, I was adding a
Mhm.
good 40 minutes. But now that we've got it all streamlined, where we just upload the audio file and then the whole process kicks off. Um, it's to me, I'm like, and I'm getting amazing show notes. I'm getting chapter files. I'm getting image art. I'm getting really everything that I need from
Mhm.
a um, post-publishing standpoint, minus editing the file. If you're going to be an editor, you're still going to have to edit.
Yeah.
We don't do that here, but um, and I'm joyful because I've used a process now to get time back again that I had added into the process. So the ability to have a rich show production experience without a production team um, remains completely viable. Now, the video, when you do video, that adds a whole different gamut of stuff. Alex says, but podcasting for business is part of a bigger marketing plan a lot of the time. What do you guys think? Here's the thing. If you're a business,
Yeah.
which, I run a business and we have a business show and we have a specific goal for that. Obviously we're podcasters and we've reworked that show 3 or 4 times
Mhm.
as we've learned. But I think if you're a business and you want to get into this, you probably would be wise to spend some money and have a production team.
Yeah.
You would be wise to do that. I'm getting ready to have some videos cut because I want to have some professional looking videos that are going to go along with our AI launch. So I am not a professional, clip creator.
Mhm.
So, I think if you're a business, you got to spend some money to make some money. You don't have to. If you're the lawyer, who is the foremost expert in litigating, sidewalk falls or whatever it may be, you probably do not need a much of a production team. You've got 82,000 stories to tell, and the outcomes and the do's and don'ts, and you've got a clear path for creating content. But if you are a hardware store, it's a little harder, I think.
Yeah.
Or if you're a business, if you're trying to drive foot traffic into your brick and mortar, well, podcasting is very difficult to do brick and mortar traffic
Yeah.
unless you're virtual, you know?
Yeah, I think it's hard, but it's also an opportunity for a business to tap into this market a little bit. But it is difficult for an individual, I think, to be able to do every aspect of this all on their own, from creating shorts to doing video and audio podcasts, and to do it effectively and to grow it is definitely a challenge. And I think what we're seeing is more and more companies outsource various elements of this. But one of the challenges of outsourcing is that you, as the creator, have to be an expert to be able to manage that team, right? So, that
Right.
skill and that knowledge needs to be in the creator as well originally. I think anyway.
Well, I digress. I was talking to someone the other day and they said they were on a they had high production of their podcast.
Right.
And they said, we can't make it on a CPM model. Our production costs are too high
Right.
to be able to make any
To afford
money.
it. Right.
So, and basically said, I need to get the reduced production cost to almost nothing, and in order to make a CPM model work. And so again, unless you're driving massive numbers, as much money as you put into a production team is going to go right out the door. Again, what is the goal? Is the goal the funnel for a business? Is the goal to be have advertising? What is the goal? And the goal will drive the amount of money that you spend
Yeah.
getting that production done. So I think the average Joe and Jane podcaster, though, That's the last thing I think they need to do at this point. The tools to get out there. You look at what Headliner has done. Um, you look at probably what we're going to be launching soon. What are we building? We're building tools to help individual podcast creators to be able to basically not need a production team and be able to go click, click, click,
Yeah.
and have this stuff, sorted for them so that they can move on and continue focusing on creating content. I think I go back to AI and look at what we have built so far and what we have in the pipeline yet to build. It's going to be transformative for content creators. Is it going to be perfect? No, but it's a hell of a lot better than what they're doing now, where none of them are doing nothing.
Right.
So,
Yeah. I mean,
and just look at our show notes from the last episode, and read, read our summary of the podcast, and it's pretty doggone good.
Yeah.
And not only that, the chapter files now, and we did update to our player. The chapter files are now marked within the actual content, within the player itself on the website. So, we've got built now to make experience people are having, when they consume it, at least on the web, be a much it's another experience now if you're consuming there. With new podcasting apps from steps on, they're doing this thing. You get this chapter file, you can click to the content you want. All this is being, our chapter files from last show were created automatic. The AI did it. And I'm thinking, be honest with you, for Geek News Central, I pay a guy to do post-show processing of my episodes, creating chapter files. I might not need that in a couple of weeks. I may not need his services to do the post-production work. And when you have the ability to, for me, reduce cost,
Yeah.
it allows me the freedom to say, okay, this isn't costing as much to do, so now I can use my resources more effectively elsewhere. Maybe I have a little extra money now to maybe buy some advertising somewhere.
Yeah, I think to some degree, Todd, this is the challenge that the industry faces in a much broader sense too, even at the larger media companies. I know that the guy who's now running podcasts at National Public Radio, Colin Campbell, did an interview in Current, which is a magazine that supports public media of sorts, and he's seeing that the overlap between podcasts and broadcast audiences is, I mean, this is a little unrelated to the topic we've been talking about, but the audiences are are getting further and further apart from each other. It's almost, if you think about public radio, I think their average listeners are like in their 70s, age wise, and the average growing listener of a podcast is like in their 20s to 30s, right? So you couldn't be any
Yeah.
further apart when it comes to the demographic makeup, and they're having a real existential crisis over there. And I think a lot of the larger media companies are facing this as well, because I think that their audiences have been generally pretty, on the older end of the spectrum, especially mainstream media. And so we're seeing kind of this movement, and I think a lot of these big media companies are struggling with the same things that we've been just talking about. Is that they've been investing a lot into creating what they consider to be quality content, and the ROIs have dropped on that, and that's why they're canceling a bunch of shows, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to monetize at the scale that they need to be able to pay for those 6-person teams that they have creating shows. And this is a little bit of the tension for branded podcasters too. Is like in order to compete in that realm, you kind of have to have a team these days. And I'm sure
Oh,
too, Todd, quite a bit of people that have like maybe a virtual assistant or something like that
right,
that help
right, right.
them with various aspects of what they do. Handle social media or something like that.
Again, I think we're facing a new. I think again, you look at what's happening, across the space. I think some of this is going to be solved by AGI when it becomes more effective. And again,
Yeah, still
I'm pretty bullish here, that creators now it levels the playing field. So basically, if you
does.
are paying for a team, um,
You may not need to here very soon,
you may
right?
that's right. And I know some folks are focused on the audio editing, on the AI stuff. Some we're not really kind of looking at that at this point, because Descript and others are doing it very, very well. I don't need to reinvent the wheel there.
Yeah,
But, I look at go out and look at the top 5, um, companies that are, basic these tools that I've just built, and I've matched 90% of their functionality,
mhm,
well, maybe 80% of their functionality within literally weeks. And,
yeah.
so
Yeah,
again, I think it goes back to being smart. And you and I have the advantage of really kind of trying to really kind of stretch our legs and be on the forefront of the most of this. And I think when you're a brand new content creator, you're still struggling with how to click record. And that's something that we continue to look at too, is
yeah,
this struggle to get to episode 1.
right. Yeah, I've known plenty of people that have said they're gonna start a podcast for over a year and have
Yeah.
never really, they start getting some of the infrastructure together, but they never execute on it. Um, and it's and oftentimes that pushback is because, "Well, I've gotta make money doing other things. I can't devote the time to this because it's not gonna make money for me right away." And
Well,
that's the pressure that we're seeing in the market today.
when I started my podcast, it
I know
cost
you had a time ticker too.
a butt ton of money.
Yeah,
And I had a finger put in my chest that said, "Listen, listen, dear husband, you will figure out how to make money on this in 2 years,
right.
or I'm going to pull the plug on you," because I was spending, almost $1,000 a month to put the show out, just because of hosting cost and everything
Yeah.
in those early days.
Oh, yeah. It was
And
expensive back then to get
yeah,
bandwidth.
it
Right.
was not, not for the weak of heart.
I had my own
So
servers and my own T1 connections going to I think I had like 3 or 4, co-located servers that I built myself and managed.
So,
Right.
it's a whole different game now,
Yeah, it is.
and the tool sets I would have just died for back then that we have now. So, when people of course, no one knows the pains that, walking uphill twice in the snow and ice to go to school each way,
Right.
no one wants to hear that, those stories. But, I also understand that, my production time, even though I'm doing a lot more stuff, it's just about the same. From when I started in 2004 to today, it's the production of the pre-production, the recording, the post-production is just about. I can get a Geek in the Central episode out in just about 3 hours.
Mhm.
This show maybe 2 hours. An hour and a half of that is recording.
Yeah,
Oftentimes I'm waiting for the upload. That's what's slowing me. So maybe at 2 hours and 15 minutes.
yeah.
So you have to make a commitment of time. And if you are working a job, it means on the nights you're recording, you don't go to the bar. You don't do your social hangout. You don't play games. You spend the 2 to 3 hours grinding an episode out. You don't get wrapped around the axle with, 8 hours of editing, and this is where I feel people are just getting killed, is they're spending too much time editing and not enough time preparing.
Right.
If they prepared more, they would spend less time editing. So,
Yeah. There's really no replacement for putting in the necessary, work. I mean, it's either up front or it's on the tail
average
end.
average
Right.
average 30-minute YouTube video takes 4 to 6 hours to edit. Um, so
You're not gonna
you
be getting out very much content if you do that.
Well,
That's why. Right.
that's why YouTubers burn out. They have to grind and, they have to edit to make compelling YouTube channels. I
So
don't
when we
think
say edit, we're actually talking about adding other visual elements, other components to those
well,
videos to
you
make
look
them
at a lot of those
more
YouTubers, they got
compelling, right?
you look at those YouTubers, they got camera in their hand 24/7. Clip, 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 clip. Segment, 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 segment. Storyboard, storyboard, storyboard.
Right.
They're probably not doing storyboards, but in their head, they're doing a storyboard because
Well,
they gotta
then
put that together.
right. Yeah,
And
I
podcast
mean, oftentimes they're telling a story and they're using visual images
yeah,
along with
but
text and things like that to drive that
podcasting, we
message.
don't have to have a storyboard. We just
Right.
need to have an outline,
Right.
and you and I, we don't even do an outline. Today I know you were doing a little prep looking for some stuff,
Yeah. Oh,
but,
yeah.
I ran out of time and didn't get anything prepped, you're carrying the day here.
I'm getting used to it, Todd. I've been doing it
Yeah.
many times a week for many weeks now, so yeah.
But I think podcasters need to grow up.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I hear these lofty, ambitious quotes from consultants, and it just infuriates me because, you know, they're selling a pipe dream and charging $999.99 or 99.49 or whatever the stupid methodology is.
Todd, do you see the podcasting medium, making any dramatic changes, let's say, as you think, 2025 timeframe, a year from now? Is AI gonna just change things dramatically, or do you think it's just more of the same for the next, few
I I
years?
think I think AI is already changing things dramatically.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know, you look at what Transistor did and their transcript implementation. Um, I guarantee you the coding on that did not take long. Because we essentially have built something similar. It hasn't been revealed yet, but this
so what did
is
they roll out, if the audience hasn't
basically
heard about it?
the ability to have easily mark, and I think Cridlin and others have already done some of this themselves. Speaker one, speaker two, identify who the speakers are.
Oh, right, right.
And it's just gonna get much more advanced going forward.
The
Um,
script does that today with their
yeah.
transcripts anyway, right.
So you just identify who's who, and then it goes from there. So and again, it's not difficult.
Mhm.
This stuff was a year and a half, 2 years ago. It's a little more tricky, but now it's just an API call and not complicated from a development standpoint at all.
Mhm.
And the beauty of it is something gets better. You just flip the API calls to a different product, and you just
Right.
continue to march forward. So the AI piece, I think, is going to help the entire production pipeline considerably. And I had to laugh with. Let me see if I can get this right here.
Don't eat me, Tom Webster.
Oh, let's try that
Don't
again.
eat me, Tom Webster.
Their latest sounds profitable. Talking about having an AI co-host. And
Right.
um, I don't know if you and I can be replaced, Rob, but it is interesting that that Tom talked about having an AI co-host.
Yeah, Todd, have you seen this new app that's going the Potter or yeah, it's the Potter app at potterapp.com.
No.
I was talking to the guy that runs that now. I can tell he's a very intelligent fellow who's trying to build this platform that will analyze a podcast, right? And it will look at its metrics, look at the data of what it can capture around a particular show, and give recommendations from that data to the podcaster about what they can do and how they can change what the patterns are that they're seeing in the consumption around topics, around keywords in the content, and the audio quality and all these things, and trying to rank that stuff into a report card of sorts. Not unlike what the platforms like brand safety and suitability, where they have like a nutritional guidelines for your podcast, right? What elements of that podcast are good and bad, right? So it's interesting, and he's building in a lot of AI technology into the back end, that's kind of analyzing shows and giving kind of real time feedback to podcasters. And I mentioned to him the opportunity of maybe doing that with monetization too. Look at a podcast, look at its audience, look at its growth, look at its genre, whatever, and come up with a strategy for a particular show. And I kind of wonder if AI is going to help with other things like this as we look to the future, because I think we can both agree that the podcast medium right now is pretty complex. I mean, it's not, no one knows, and I struggle with this too, Todd, and I'm sure you do every day as well, to keep up with what's going on and the opportunities and the different methodologies of doing things. Um,
We to that regard, um, I've been playing with that. How should we say it? I'm looking to see what's next,
yeah,
and what he's doing is the challenge with that. And again, if he's mastered that, then congratulations. If it's coming out with consistent,
right.
aka this is a key, consistent advice. Um, that's not off the wall, that is accurate because you've analyzed the audio and you've come to the same conclusions. Um, it's tricky because it's subjective. Um, I think things that we're looking at is we can use our retention data to say, okay, when there was a drop in retention, why was there a drop in retention on a
Mhm.
show, and how do you compare to other shows? And these are the type of things that we're really going to be looking at heavily. And we've got the source data to back up the and a true statistical amount of data to back up some of these assertions.
Yeah. Yeah. So
But
this
again,
is his website here.
what's the
Grow your
website?
podcast. What?
It's
It's potterapp.com.
potterapp.com.
And it's basically trying to data analyze your podcast and what's going on with it. So he does use a prefix of sorts to analyze
Oh, so
your
he's
show.
getting some
Yeah.
stats. But
Yeah.
if he's using a prefix, he's not getting very much information.
No, that's right. And he's having to piece together other sources, of information to kind of piece together stuff. And some of it is kind of, maybe less than specific, right? And
Right.
I
That's the
could tell
challenge,
that
is
he was struggling to try and get sources of information, but, his comment is back really on this was that, a lot of podcasters are flying relatively blind, on what's going on with their show because the situation is so complex, right?
well,
So
I don't I'm kind of biased here because, we really have worked hard in the statistical department to be
oh,
able to give
yeah, right.
podcasters actionable information. Again, it's
Mhm.
on stats, but there's a lot you can derive from stats.
Right.
Um, especially when you're comparing it to like-minded content. So,
Mhm. Yeah, and he does have plans in here that are a little
see,
on the
wow,
expensive side.
really
Yeah.
expensive.
For growth,
Analytics,
it's
15.
yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. $15 a month for analytics.
Yeah, and then the $80 a month, he actually will give you 2 to 5 actionable small strategies per week, personalized guidance with AI,
Uh-huh.
access to private Slack community. Um, yeah, so I think he's trying to work it to try and figure out a way, to utilize this data to help podcasters make better
And
decisions around content and
and just looking at his analytics, he needs is a huge amount of demographic data. He needs
correct.
he needs the web traffic. He needs all this information, which being a third party service, he likely does not have a lot of this. So he's probably people are having to implement stuff on their web pages and um, I commend him for doing this. But again, it's just like our AI product that we're getting ready to roll out. We know that people are going to be able to cancel a variety of AI tools that they may be paying for.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and that's a good topic too, Todd, is that I think we're coming into an era too where uh, a lot of these yeah, I'm hearing a lot of talk about this, especially in the technology sector, is these bigger platforms are going to increasingly add AI capability, like what Microsoft is doing with Office and what
Yeah,
Google's increasingly doing with what they're doing. I think we're going to see it increasingly in Apple's platform and also in Google and Facebook and all these that a lot of these abilities are going to be added into existing large software suites, and I wonder if that's going to cause a fair amount of these AI startups to get put out of business.
they're already going out.
Yeah,
A couple that we tested back in January. Uh, basically, we still have accounts on there that they're not active. We're not paying for the service, but we're getting emails of, "Hey, we're shutting down, and it was a good run, but here's what we suggest you try to use." Um, oh yeah, there's going to be a huge amount of consolidation.
yeah,
Um, I saw the handwriting on the wall and understood that, hey, we have to have this baked in. Um,
yeah,
and my roadmap is pretty long from that standpoint. It gets more complex as time goes on. We built the easy stuff first.
right,
The next round is doing some of the harder stuff, and
yeah.
and basically it was just about workflows and trying to improve workflows.
Thought I wanted to kind of change the topic a little bit here, and I don't know if you saw in Pod News the announcement of this Podio and the IMO voice messaging app. It kind of reminded me of an earlier era in podcasting, and I wanted to pull it up and
Yeah,
share with each other.
I saw it, but I didn't look at it.
Yeah, so this concept of here, let me pull it up on the screen. So a little bit of a throwback into an
The
earlier
voicemail
era
line.
in the podcasting space.
Uh,
Um, uh,
what's
uh,
old is new again.
yes, listen to podcasts on any phone. This is an article that was written by Michael Arrington back in 2006.
Oh, okay.
So you can see kind of a history here to some degree.
Yeah,
If you look at um, there's a variety of fawn pods and pod lines and voice
yeah.
voice
I think I
indigo, whatever.
used
Yeah.
Voice Indigo for a while, and no one ever used it.
Yeah. So this concept of being able to play or access podcasts via, let's say, a voice messaging app
Right.
platform. So, and I think there's been some talk, Todd, around platforms like a WhatsApp supporting distribution of podcasts, or and maybe this is the reason why it didn't really work in TikTok too much, but is this concept of being able to access podcasts on apps like this. And this
Well,
was announced in Pod News, and but it was for like North Africa and Saudi Arabia. I don't know if you saw it through this hosting platform called Podio. Don't know here, I'll pull it up on the
I'm
screen.
familiar with audio.
You are? Yeah.
Yeah.
This is them. So I guess they have a partnership um, to distribute podcasts to, I guess, the Saudi market, as
Yeah.
well as what's the other country? It is I thought I had it right in front of me.
Well, the Saudi market is pretty, let's put it this way.
Bengali, which is, I believe, is in North Africa, right?
Saudi is quite well connected, and everyone has a very modern mobile phone in their hands.
Right.
Um, that was evident by going to the event that I went to. Is I was kind of bedazzled a little bit. Some folks had some pretty nice phones,
Yeah.
but
So
Africa is a different situation.
yeah. So this is the platform. Oh no, I wanted to share this too.
Oh, dial podcast.
That podcast. I don't know if you've. I don't know if many in the podcasting space have actually seen this, but it's at dialapodcast.com. And how it works, you basically sign up for a subscription to podcasts, and you go in and you enter what podcast you want.
Yeah.
And it gives you a phone number that you can call on your phone, which takes us back to that article,
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
I think with Michael Arrington, about getting a custom phone number that will dial in to play your latest podcast episode into your mobile phone. So these
The
no
challenge.
idea is ever really entirely dead, is it, Todd?
Yeah, and the challenge I hate, is this by the same company, Podio, that does this?
I don't believe so. I think this is
Oh,
a
okay.
different company. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so what is Podio doing then specifically?
Let's see. They are sending podcasts over to another platform. I'm trying to pull it up here. Okay, I think I found it here. They're supplying podcasts to this other platform. Here, let me access that. Called IMO,
Oh, okay.
which is it's a downloadable app that you can
Sure.
download to a Windows computer or a Mac or something like that. But the problem with the app is that I tried to install it myself, and it doesn't even enable you to actually get it in the United States.
Right.
So it only enables you to get it in a bunch of other countries around the world. So, mainly in North Africa, Saudi kind of area of the
Well,
world,
I
which
think
is
we talked
interesting.
about before that podcasts would be embedded
Yeah.
anywhere there was a place to embed them. So this
Yeah.
doesn't come as a surprise to me at all, and it's a smart strategy. You
Yeah.
find a regional app that's doing well, and if it's, got regional content, then you add the podcast section with the regional content. It makes
Right.
perfect sense. Although I do find it kind of weird, 10
Plus
that's
thousand.
not
Oh,
that's
no, there's 4 zeros.
the comma's in the wrong place.
Right.
So,
Right.
tens of thousands, plus? Is that that's just kind of interesting.
I think it's a
Um,
translation problem or something. I'm not quite sure, but
well,
yeah.
I think we all put the comma in the same place on numbers. I didn't know
Yeah.
there was a
Yeah, I didn't
maybe
either.
maybe not, maybe in Japanese, left to right, or right to left, excuse me, I don't know.
Yeah,
But, you know,
So
we
supposedly there's like 200 million people potential reach on this platform is what it
I
said.
am you know, you think about the number of folks that speak, Arabic, and it's
Yeah.
massive. I think it's
Yeah.
bigger than that. The Arabic speaking word was like 700 million or something like that.
As far as this platform goes, I
Oh,
guess
yeah,
it's
maybe, yeah, depends
200
on what
million,
it is.
but it does, look like it supports Android, iPhone, and Mac PC.
So
So
the
it does
trick, Rob, to install that is put a VPN on your phone, set it to a
right.
country is and
So
then
like Britain or something, right.
yeah, then try to install it.
Yeah.
So,
So it's interesting, the
yeah.
news that came out on that.
What is old is new again, but this really isn't the same play. This is just embedding podcast in apps and then, you know, a variety of apps, and I think that's smart.
Well, I guess the idea of a messaging app is an interesting one,
Well, based
and
on, Facebook's, history in podcasting, I don't think it's coming to WhatsApp. Uh, you know,
right, I
and
don't think so
to
either, right?
be honest with you, I don't know if that's a great fit
I don't think so
in
either. I think the use cases are conflict with each other a little bit there,
yeah,
right?
yeah, you know, primarily and I used WhatsApp a lot, and then
Right.
some part of the world's like if you're in Japan, Line, you know, my, uh, Shoko's, lost her sister here a few days ago, and she's
Yeah.
in, Okinawa right now, so, we will be, communicating online, because that's what they use in Japan. They don't use WhatsApp, they use Line. And
Oh,
then, of
right,
course,
right.
in the United States, you know, a lot of people that are security conscious are using Telegram and other types of apps. So, you know, I don't know if that's the best place to consume podcasts. I think I'll stick with my new modern podcast app from podcastapps.com, where we can do value for value. And um, did I actually kick the live today? Did I hit the live item? Yes, I did. So we are live and lit. So the bat
Todd, I
signal
wanted
was
to show this, quick and get your thoughts on it. The Independent, Podcast Awards.
okay, great.
What do you think about that? It's in London.
Well, podcastawards.com is the independent podcast awards as well. So,
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
yeah. So is this their
So,
second year?
it doesn't say actually.
The trophy's pretty nice.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting kind of, fun design, right?
Yeah.
I wonder how expensive those are to make.
Those are not very much because those are acrylic. That's just a print.
Oh,
Those are very inexpensive to produce. Probably
yeah.
50, $60 each.
So
My
I guess
credit card just got
that's their stage. That stage looks
okay.
really familiar. I don't it must be in London, yeah. King's Place, King's Cross in
Hmm.
London, I guess. So,
So this is
anyway,
just for indies then, huh?
I guess so. I'm
How
not
do
quite
they
sure where they're drawing that line, right?
yeah, how do you define that?
I know. I agree with the question. I'm not sure I would wanna be in a position of drawing that line, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. So, but I guess somebody's taken it on. Yeah, anyway.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
More the merrier. There's room for all of us.
Yeah, and I think if that event, you know, I guess these regional awards seem to be a thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
As far as global regions, right? So you have like the
Mhm.
Australian podcast awards and you got the UK um
I'm
and
having a lot
Asia.
we had the challenge I'm having with my awards is I had some folks that were shipping to, Dubai or
Mhm.
UAE is much, much harder than one would imagine because their addressing system over there is a pain in the oh my god, pain in the butt. And,
Yeah.
so, yeah, I've got 2 trophies on the way to me that I have to individually ship because FedEx was just completely confused with the address, and I'm gonna have to sort it out and manually do it. The company couldn't figure out how to get FedEx to accept the shipment.
Yeah. Yeah.
My shipping bill this year alone was $1,600, so
Yeah.
not for the faint at heart either. Of course, you just
Yeah.
shipped some trophies too.
Yeah, we did for the podcast Hall of Fame. Yeah.
And
So,
yours were heavy, very, very heavy,
oh
so
yeah.
they
Well,
were
we
not
actually shipped
shipped.
them to the West Coast, and all the trophies for the Hall of Fame were shipped from LA up through the West Coast. So we were, yeah. So it's just about getting them, the three of them,
Oh,
back to the West Coast,
so
and
who
then
carried those back to the West Coast?
Lipson actually shipped them back
Oh, they
back
did,
to
okay.
LA, and then they got shipped out of LA. So
Oh, alright.
yeah.
They have people in I guess they have people in LA to be able to do the reshipment, huh?
Yeah,
Uh,
Corey, who actually runs kind of the events for Lipson, kind of
he lives out there.
she lives out there,
Oh,
and
she lives out
she
there.
was actually, did me a favor because I couldn't ship them out of Orlando in time. So
Did you see the, email that we received? I forwarded it to you, basically saying that
oh, yeah.
5 years is too early for eligibility for the Podcast Hall of Fame.
Well, I think you could certainly make a case for that, Todd, and I would have a hard time arguing against that. That change was made when the event was part of Podcast Movement.
Right.
I believe that change occurred. Was it at the 2018 event actually?
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
when Dave Jackson was inducted that year.
Yeah.
So so yeah, I didn't have a say in that, and it's followed the event. I guess we could have changed it, but
Yeah.
I think they
I
did
think
it.
most of the inductees were tenure plus anyway this year, so
Yeah, and I think that's the key thing to really focus on is that most of the inductees, probably at least had 10 years
yep.
of experience
Hard
in the medium.
hard to believe we're on our march here to 20 years.
Yeah. Yep. Was it in September for
And, you
me
know,
and
I
October for you, right?
I feel like it's just continue to give the same advice,
Yeah, I know.
and it's I don't wanna become the old curmudgeon and feel like a broken record, but it, that's part of the reason why I've been so jazzed about the, about the podcasting 2.0 stuff is because it really does add this whole new vibrancy and making it possible, um, for audiences to engage within the apps. And because in the end, talk about all these, you talk about, oh, I want to build a community and, blah, blah, blah. But you have to get the community to engage and you have to make it easier for them to engage. And
Right,
many of the legacy podcast apps do not make it easy to engage. They
right,
don't want you leaving their platforms. They want you stuck right there and racking up listening hours.
right,
So we have to make sure podcasters are drinking the Kool-Aid, and in that, AKA, you want engagement, you want to build community, then we need to start with a foundation of
mhm,
putting their listeners, within platforms that they can get this engagement.
yeah,
Um, you look at the sidebar on YouTube for YouTube Lives. Yeah, a perfect example of right there. They can engage with the host. For the audio content, we need to make sure that the apps have this engagement because when
tools,
audiences engage with content and it doesn't require them to send an email or a text or some other BS, the podcaster then says, "Oh, I'm getting feedback.
Hmm.
Oh my God, people are listening. I'm having success." One comment is probably from an audience member, probably is enough to carry a podcast another 20 shows. I'm being
Right.
kind of a little over the top here, but
Yeah. Yeah, Todd, I do kind of wonder, you know, well, we should probably answer this question from Sonia, but she
we
makes a
you
comment about WhatsApp and Telegram being a place for online courses in the past, I guess. So I guess my takeaway from this is that that's been attempted, and I think people have found that those platforms are only good for what they were originally designed to do, and that's just to message people. They're not
yeah,
really a
there's
consumption
great
platform, right?
there's great group chat functionality within WhatsApp and Telegram.
Right.
There's great functionality for that. But they also have high drop off rates because people get tired of the noise. They're
Or
usually in there because they have to be in there.
yeah, or they're having a conversation back and forth with multiple people at one
Right.
time. They don't really use that app to listen to
And
short or long form content.
it
Right.
only takes one jerk to completely ruin a group chat and make people bail like crazy.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's part of the challenge with Mastodon right now. You got a great Mastodon channel, then all of a sudden people are putting in stupid memes, and you're like, "Oh my god, kill me now." Because it is what it is. I was gonna have you show,
Oh, you want me to pull
um
something up?
yeah, so bring up, geeknewscentral.com. Actually, no, bring up the new media show.
Okay. Yeah, I should have it up here. Oh, I typed in extra character, which will make it break. So yeah, I'm pulling up newmediashow.com and we'll
Yeah.
have it on the screen here in a second. And I'll add it to the stage.
Alright, so scroll to the player.
Scroll down.
Yeah, keep going.
There we go. There's something
Oh,
there.
how come the player didn't load? Oh, whale fail.
Here, let's reload here and see if it loads this time. So are you playing with okay, there it is.
Okay, so alright, why didn't the chapter file show up for that? I
Oh,
see it on my page. You must have a caching issue.
well, there's markers in
Oh,
here.
there they are. Okay, so now, click the right arrow, basically the play right arrow, click on that.
Next chapter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just click on it. Yeah, see what
Todd
it
and
says?
Rob in the
Not seeing
afternoon.
and you say, "This is wrong." I don't think the
Okay.
advertisers
Yeah.
so you see how that can jump
Yeah.
to and
From
it
chapter to
actually
chapter. Right.
it lays out the chapter. Now click on the closed caption button. Uh-huh.
Aha.
So now we put the closed caption right in the player window.
So this is just a display of the
Yeah, of the
transcription of that
yeah,
chapter. Right.
yeah.
Or of the whole
So
show. Is it the whole show or is it the
the whole
trans
show. Yeah, it's the whole show.
this whole show? Okay.
Yeah, but you can
Oh,
see here where we have
oh, it's got an
um
auto scroll too. So
yeah.
can you activate play while this is
So
I guess
go
you
back
wouldn't
to the
want to, right?
yeah,
It says auto scroll. So what's
yeah,
the
go ahead. Just hit X. Now click play.
click play and then hit it?
Yeah. Care. I think the advertisers are
I
basically taking a very conservative approach. What it is it's disabled because we disable it whenever I have programmatic turned on. So I'd
Oh.
have to turn programmatic off and then the auto scroll will work.
Mm, okay.
So this is basically when you're running programmatic, we don't want to have people basically following the wrong. So anyway, that's the two changes we made to the player. Was putting in chapter files, and again, I'm pretty pleased with the ability. There wasn't a really clean way to show the chapters
Mhm.
on that player, but at least people can click through if they want to.
So are you automatically generating some AI artwork
Yeah,
for
the artwork
your
that's
episodes as
on
part of the platform? Right.
the artwork that's part of the episode art that's on the audio player, not that one. Yeah, scroll
Mhm.
down. That's the video player. That art there was created by our implementation that we did in the Blueberry AI. I add the new media show
Text to that, right.
text to it.
So
But
where does
yeah,
this artwork up here with the video come from?
I generate that on OpenAI
Oh, you do?
on
Okay.
ChatGPT. Yeah.
Do you
So
see okay, so this below one is created automatically with
yeah,
every episode
we
transcription? Is that the idea?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So the chapter files, the transcript, the closed caption, and the album art are all now in our AI system being auto generated.
Okay.
You still have to, in PowerPress at least, you still have to link it. Um, yeah, so click on the triple dots. You'll see that there is the
Triple
hamburger there on the
dots
right. The
on the
hamburger
right.
on
Oh, yeah, here.
the right.
Okay.
So then we've got the ability to share and download. Oh, yeah, you can click the chapters link. Now you can see the chapters.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
and there could be art there with each of those chapters as well.
Oh, so you can assign art to each of those
Yeah,
chapters, is what you're saying.
yeah, yeah,
Do many people do that, or are you seeing that as another function of the AI?
yeah. That's the AI because most people don't have time to do it.
Right.
So,
Yeah, so I was gonna say that'd be a lot of art
well,
creation
if you
to
go over
do.
to Geek News Central, you just load Geek News Central here real quick, and I'll show you something in. Um, and then click on the latest episode. Well, you'll scroll to the latest episode on Geek News Central. You'll see what I'm talking about. Yeah, scroll down. And for those of you that are listening and not watching, just go over to newmediashow.com or Geek News Central. Keep going, Rob. Find the latest GNC episode.
Oh,
You
down
gotta
here.
Yeah. Okay. So you keep going.
There it
Okay.
is.
Stop. See how
Right
many
there?
chapter files there are for GNC?
Oh, yeah, you got a lot.
A lot. And
There's what, a total of, 30 chapters
yeah,
in
hit
a
the chat.
41-minute episode, is that right?
Yeah. So hit the hamburger again,
And then
and then the
chapter
chapters. So
okay, it's not loading yet.
yeah. But again, this is we've got this was all AI generated. Now I have someone that comes in behind and basically does a cleanup.
Mhm.
Now if you
Oh,
so
32 chapters. That's what it's
yeah,
showing here.
yeah. So again, this is just you show it's possible. And all of the here's the beauty about this too is the metadata is embedded. So Google now will get all of that chapter data and those topics, all those markers automatic. I've been doing this for years, paying someone to do this. Now, if you click on the whole episode, just go up a little bit and load the individual episode. And I'm sure my producer has not gotten time to do this yet, but if you scroll down a little bit, keep going, keep going.
Oh, there's your show notes
Yeah, so keep going. These are all the links to all the articles. He comes in behind
and fills that in.
and fills in the time hacks on this.
Mhm.
So we basically have, if I would have, I could, within the tool, I could basically export and overlay the time hacks
So you could
automatic.
click on this potentially, and it would jump to that location in the audio file?
Yeah.
Or
So go to right there. Keep going. Go up a little bit. No, sorry. Go down. Go down and click on the Geek News audio over there on the right.
Mhm.
Yeah, click on that, and then let's go down. It takes him usually 2 or 3 episodes, so go down to, like, 1721, keep scrolling. Yeah, just grab that one, let's see if he's gotten that one done, because we do this almost
1721.
we just yeah, just click on 1721, go ahead, go up.
Yeah, that's where I'm at
Yeah, so
1721.
click on that, click on the green, because 'cause you're just seeing the short summary.
Right.
Now scroll down, and you'll see what I'm talking about, if he's got this one edited.
Oh,
Keep
yeah.
going.
There's the
Yeah,
times.
see, now the time hacks, and when you click on that time hack, then it jumps the player.
So
So,
the number actually activates the player. The
yeah,
link goes to the
the content.
website. Right.
Yeah, it
Right.
goes so we've got it set up so that when you have the chapter file created, we give you the HTML snippet to put on your web page to be able to do what you see exactly right there.
So when you click on this 1154, that should activate the
Yeah, it
skip
should
to
jump
the
the player.
second,
It'll jump to supposed to jump to 1154,
which
and
is okay. No, that's not the right one. Okay.
yeah. So, I don't know why it didn't. I'm gonna have to test that. Something might have broke.
Yeah, because that was supposed to jump.
Supposed to jump, yeah, to 1154.
So is that
Oh,
1150?
there's a bug.
Yeah.
And what's happening here, there's intermixing of data. So it that maybe the chapter file I auto-generated is yeah,
Yeah, it's
but
all
it's
new tech here too, right? So
yeah, but it
you're
was yeah, that's not supposed to be broke. Well, that's a great demo there, Todd.
That's a great find to find a
Yeah,
bug.
find a bug.
Yeah, I don't
So,
see the chapter showing up here either.
that's weird.
Anyway, their
I
tech
don't see
doesn't
the
always
closed
work.
caption
It's alright.
showing up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's work in progress.
It is.
Uh, over on my YouTube channel, Beauty Bubble, something to consider too, Todd and Rob, is as subscribing to YouTube and using the live chat, we too have we have to make sure we're being good stewards as listener. I
I lost you
try.
there, Tom.
Oh, did you? Yeah, basically, over on my YouTube channel, Beauty Bubble says something to consider too, Todd and Rob, is subscribers to YouTube and using live chat. We too have to have a hard making have to make sure we're being good stewards as listeners. I try and make comments and inroads on every show. So, I think that's true. But again, it's not. It sounds vain to say, "Oh, please, please, please make a comment." You know,
Right.
please send me email. Um, I think if you love a show's content as a listener, you're naturally going to want to provide feedback. So,
Mhm.
Anita says, question about impressions. What do you think about it in the future? Why do I feel it's because people are too busy? No time to give likes and comments. Impressions is only like I see your post slash number of reach. It's true. And I consume YouTube largely on the TV, and
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
making comments is near impossible.
Yeah, they haven't
Um,
done a good job. I mean, I use the Roku, experience or the Roku app, for YouTube, and it just doesn't have the functionality.
as the
Just
phone or the
just yeah, which
or the
is
browser.
surprising because they could do it because I know that the remote control for Roku has voice recognition built into it, so you could
Yeah,
leave a voice comment on a YouTube
yeah.
video. I guess they just haven't built that capability into the app, but hopefully
But
at
I
some
often
point.
Here's the thing I get frustrated about. The links are down below. Well, if you're watching on, I just wonder what the percentage breakout is people like you and I that watch most YouTube on television,
Right.
because I don't get
Well,
to those links.
yeah, I specifically went out and bought a Roku television, so it's actually
Oh, yeah.
integrated into the operating
Yeah.
system of
Right.
the
Right.
TV itself, right?
Yeah.
But
When
you
I
can
travel,
get a Roku stick, then just plug it into the USB
yeah.
port in the back of the TV and turn it into a Roku TV. But
Yeah. My Sony at home has YouTube built in, and then it's an Android TV is what it is.
yeah,
So-
yeah, a
and
lot of
then
Samsung TVs have all those apps built
yeah.
in.
And when I'm on the road like this, I travel with an Amazon Fire Stick.
Mhm. Which also
So
has all those apps on it.
yeah, it has all.
It's the
And the
over the
bigger challenge,
top strategy, which I know you played that game for many years, Todd, with your network
yeah. And it was,
apps, don't you?
it was fun when you were 11, 12, and 14. I think that was our numbers. We were the 11th, 12th, and 14th app on Roku, but now there's
Mhm.
thousands. We got
Yeah,
pretty big adoption. We were running 6 or 7% of listens and views on Roku. And
yeah.
then,
Things have changed on
as
that front,
people started,
right.
yeah, because people started building a lot of apps. Matter of fact, our apps are still on Roku, and the dev team is trying to figure out how to get them off because we don't have those login
Oh,
credentials no more.
yeah, you're not
It's,
really
that was one of
supporting
those.
those apps, right? Yeah.
No, and it didn't make it into a password file, that we have master passwords. That's what before we had those those constraints put in place where it was in KeyPass or whatever.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
anyway, any other topics? We're almost out of time.
I think, I think we've taken our course, Todd. I think we've taken our chunk of people's lives a little bit here. So, I think we should give them back a couple minutes before the bottom of the hour.
Yeah. So one more show on the road for me, then I'll be back in America starting on
Okay.
March 1st. So I'll be back in the studio, back in the gray, back in the cold. At least spring is
February's gonna go
back.
fast here. I'm hoping that the snow melts, in the next week. There's still a bunch of snow on the ground here. So,
Only sunshine and 80 degrees here. So
yeah, I figured that you were a trader on the, down by the equator or something.
I just can't. It's. I hate to say it. The one thing I do miss about Hawaii is the warm blue skies, and winters in Michigan have been pretty miserable. Yeah, Rick, reason we're on in the evenings is I'm essentially in another part of the world. So Rob is accommodating me by going from 8 to 9:30 Eastern. So one more show like this next week, and then back to our regularly scheduled afternoon times.
Yeah, I've
So
gotten kinda used to doing these evening shows because I do it for my other show that I do on Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern,
yeah,
so I do that every week. Actually, I'm in the middle of rolling that show out as a audio and video podcast on Blueberry. So,
yeah. Oh,
I'm
awesome.
uploading all those files now, and those feeds are already active and got episodes in them already. I just gotta get it out to all the consumption platforms. So,
Wow,
that's the next step. So it's gonna be
awesome.
awesome to take that show out as a full podcast, so I can actually claim that it's a full podcast.
Rob, I'll send you the NDA, but I'll let you play with the beta on the AI. You can give me some feedback.
Oh, yeah, I would love that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, I've been actively publishing episodes here, today and yesterday. So yeah, so it's
yeah.
good.
Anita, what time is it where you're at? Like 10:30 in the morning or 11:30 or something like that? Of course, it's better. It's morning time for her.
Wow.
So
Yeah, you're
at 4 a.m. Yeah, so she's 13 hours ahead.
she's definitely dedicated
So
to the cause here. Thank you
yeah.
so much, Sonia. Right.
Uh,
So yeah, wow. Okay.
all right. Okay, everybody. Todd at blueberry.com, at Geek News on X. I'm at Geek News at geeknews.chat on Mastodon. And so you can follow me there or Facebook or wherever you hang out.
I can be found on X or Twitter as well at Rob Greenlee, and LinkedIn and all the social platforms. Facebook, just enter my name in there and you'll probably find me. So I'm easy to find. So and if you want to send me an email, you're certainly welcome to do that too. robgreenlee at gmail.com. And Todd, it looks like we reached the most live listeners right at the end of our show.
Well, that's not surprising. And then here's the key:
Right.
is we're doing the show during prime hours versus business hours. So,
Right. Well,
um,
that's exactly why I'm doing that show on Thursday at 7 p.m. because I get a lot of people coming in and giving me feedback and questions and comments stuff. I should probably have you on that show at some point, Todd.
yeah, love to be on. And we have been lit and live, so I've been watching via Modern Podcast app. We thank you so much. And anyway, I guess we'll see you next week at the same odd time.
Well, thanks, Rick, for sticking with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, well, thanks everybody for watching, and check out my show next tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern on the StreamYard channels. And I'm going to have Ray Ortega on with me. That's a name that goes back a little bit, right, Todd?
Yeah, that goes way back.
So it's a little bit of we're going to talk about podcasting equipment and kind of what's happening on the video side. He's a big podcast producer himself, so it'll be good to have him on. So anyway, have a nice evening, everybody. Todd, it's
Right.
good to see you again.
See you later. All right. Take care. Bye.
Okay, bye.